drinking every night, partying every night, going to the field for 8 hours a day, doing it again the next night. I thought I could buy joy. Dishonest, deception, manipulation. Things were going good, and well, that's such a complete lie. So I'm gonna stop for a second. The whole thing's, every time I say it's going good, I'm high the whole time. Drugs, lots and lots of drugs. I became a daily user. Wake up in the morning, I had to get high. At lunchtime at work, I had to get high. After work, it was either drinking or getting high. You're telling one lie to cover another lie, to cover another lie. Pretty soon, I don't know what lies I've told. Everything. Doesn't matter what it was, but it was everything.
When I was very young in that small town in Idaho, I had an encounter with Christ. I was in grade school on a swing, just like kids do. I heard God say, "You're gonna follow me one day."
My dad was either in jail or just drunk all the time, and he was really abusive. My mom was in and out of drugs. I didn't really know it. I partied a little bit. Nobody cared. There was no accountability. I got married right out of high school. My husband and I were just kind of on a different page. Filed for divorce, and I met my husband, Jake, right away. Got married shortly after. I just totally thought everything would be different, and it just wasn't.
There was always something missing in my childhood. Basically, I filled this void inside my body with competition, adrenaline, sports, and girlfriends.
I loved playing football, and Jake being the quarterback and the kind of the lead player of the team, I looked up to him in ways, and we got to know each other, and I would say that we were friends.
Eric is genuinely one of the nicest guys I've ever met. He would do anything for you, and he was really, really fast.
People just kept on showing up on my doorstep, and a couple of those people were Josh and Carrie. And I had this other bunch of friends and in high school that, were the opposite influence. And so at a camp, just before the third night there, I had an encounter like I did when I was a kid. It was God speaking to me, saying, "It's time. I'm done waiting." What made the difference for me is that I really met Christ through his church, through his people. And though I didn't deserve to have friends or deserve to be a part of a good family, that's where I found myself. And just God put divine contacts in my life over and over again that just basically adopted me. I mean, my Uncle Greg and Canty, they took me in. Sean and Julie Ballard and the Fikes, Terry and Nancy Fike, and just on and on and on. These people would come and they would invite me into their home and give me work and just whatever they could to spend time and influence me. My desires began to change. And so the things that were coming from this other side, friends from high school, they were just going places I couldn't go.
And then I forgot about Eric. Like, I was gone.
He moved on and I moved on, and he was on a very different path than I was.
Sports were over. I was 27-ish years old. Didn't have an identity, had no purpose. I learned how to party, do all the drugs, chase girls through baseball in college. But once that was over, now I didn't have anything to fill that void whatsoever. But my coping mechanism was drugs, lots and lots of drugs. I remember a time when my brother and I went on a trip to Las Vegas for work. I made it to about 1 hour of one day of the convention that we were supposed to go to for a week, and I blew every single penny I had. I took a bunch of drugs with me, bought a bunch of drugs down there. So I was in Vegas and I was go big or go home, and I went big first. My brother's driving home. Our buddy's in the back seat. I have a cold beer, and I remember looking over at my brother with tears in my eyes. I was like, dude, I'm done. He's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, well, I'm totally messed up. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, I'm addicted to drugs.
I was struggling personally, just as I'd have struggled my whole life, just feeling like worthy, just like maybe this is what I deserved, maybe this is right where I should be, maybe I haven't made the best choices and this is just what I deserved. And then we got pregnant with twins. I would say that during that pregnancy with the twins is where things really got complicated in our marriage. Things were just really, there was just a lot of distance, and I didn't really know what was going on. I find out that Jake has been using drugs again.
I was so messed up and out of it. I'd be home, I'd be like in reach of my family. They could always reach out and grab me, but I wasn't there. I didn't know how to love. I didn't know how to care for my wife. I was completely broken. My wife was completely broken, which, to be honest, I was so messed up, I didn't even see that clearly. My wife went down to the counseling office and said, where's the furthest treatment center away from me possible? And they gave her one in Southern California. She said, that's where he's going.
There came a time when there was 4 or 5 of us, we were just living life together, and it was just a lot of Jesus all the time. And from there, it just really birthed kind of a church plant team.
With 3 little kids, it was really hard to get to church by myself with the 3 kids. So Laura and Vaughn Tucker, who are my neighbors, they changed their service schedule and what service they would go to in order to help me get the kids in and out of the car. That's what really got me going to church. And then Jake came home.
It was the weekend the poster got revealed of all the people's names, and my name was on that poster. Back then I'd cry over anything, but it was Josh was preaching right to me, just specifically. He knew I was showing up.
I told my story in our gospel community, and I told them things that I've never told anybody. I've always been fearful of that because I've always felt, not worthy, just really ashamed, like really, really ashamed. And after I told my story to a room full of people that love Jesus and follow Jesus, everybody just was filled with love and respect, and nobody looked at me differently. And that was the time where I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. And I felt it. I felt that that's where I was supposed to be. And that's when I decided, it's time. I'm gonna give my life to Jesus. This is where I'm gonna do it. And then it was a couple weeks later, maybe a month later, I got baptized at Easter service.
When you're plugged into the church, when you are in a gospel community, when you're being honest with other men, life gets better. But it wasn't until I found Jesus that now that emptiness and that hole's filled. And for the first time in my life, I have peace.
Watching the transformation in Jake, amazing. Transformation in him as a father. And as a husband, and just as a person. I can't even believe where we are today from where we started. You would have to know him before to just be in just total amazement where he's at today.
I recognize his walk. I think he's got a very distinct walk, and I know it when he'd come onto the playing field in the football, and so I recognized that, and it's just familiar to me. And then I tried focusing in, and I saw him coming, and then it finally hit me. This Jake's walking down the hallway, and so he comes right up to me and says, "Hey man, how's it going? It's been a long time," and we talked for a little bit, and then he started just talking about Jesus. And I was just in shock. To tell you the truth, it kind of screwed me up.
Like 3 days later, he stopped by and we talked for 2 hours and 45 minutes, standing in one place next to our trucks. But this time, the focus of this talk was certainly different. It wasn't about girls or football or anything like that. It was what Jesus has done. And finally, I was like, I should probably go to work. He's like, I probably should go back to work too.
We're part of the same team again. You know, we were teammates before, but we're something more than that. We're family on a way better game plan.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful that Eric was original member of Grace City. Now knowing that we all have the same brick to build a new church it's amazing how God works.
I wish that there was some way that somebody could just tap into you and just get to see it through your eyes for a minute, because that's all it would take. Like, I have so many friends that if they could just tap into me and see how I looked at myself just a couple years ago and how I look at myself today, it's phenomenal. It's like seeing in color, I would assume, like going from black and white to color.
At some point, you just come to your end, and then you just have to experience God. That's when people realize there is nothing that the Lord cannot redeem or restore.
There's nothing that he can't forgive. I mean, nothing. Like, everybody's welcome if they want to be. Like, you just have to want it. Like, that's the ticket in. You got to want in. Like, that's it. Admission is free.